Good morning and welcome back to the Mobile Homestead. We have a really fun video lined up today, I think, because this is going to be our first garden tour of 2020. I'm already past the initial starting point, so you'll get to kind of see just where everything's at right now, what I've got planned, what is already growing, what we're waiting on sprouting, and yeah, so this is where we'll start, and here we go. And I'm really excited to show you guys this garden because it's going to be the biggest, I think. It's going to be, I think, the most productive because there's a lot of stuff that I'm actually paying attention to for the first time, like fertilizing. So yeah, we're gonna get into that and hopefully it'll pay off this year. First up is my seed starts. This light bar off of Amazon, Lingo LED grow light, full spectrum. So I did a little bit of digging into lights and things, and as far as them being purple like that, and those are more for like once the plant's already sprouted. This thing actually doesn't really give off any kind of heat, so I can just touch it, which is good. I don't want to be giving off a ton of heat in case it comes into contact with something, given how kind of janky my setup is here. That wasn't really what I was looking for. However, it is one thing to note that you're gonna need to have heat to germinate your seeds. Warm them up so they can sprout. But I haven't had any problems. So, you don't need the purple, but this is what I got because it was super cheap. So down here on the closer end, where we've got the light nice and next to the cups, see, we've got, this is my zucchini. Back here is my winter squash. So that one's called a honey nut, and it's supposed to be, you know, like a butternut squash, but insanely sweet. Like you can just cut it in half and roast it and, you know, put some butter. You don't even need to add brown sugar or anything, and you should just be able to eat it straight up like that. So I'm excited. These are gonna be some yellow crookneck winter squashes, and these seeds went in, I think 2 or 3 days ago. So we should be coming up on some germination soon. And then the two little ones in the back here, let me bounce on over. These are two different kinds of zinnias. Those are going to be some gorgeous flowers that pollinators really love. The TH, those are Thumbelina. So little teeny tiny babies, going to be nice and short. These are candy cane, which the flowers themselves are beautiful colors with different stripes on them, and it's just going to be real fun. Next up, I've got these 2 cups of cucumbers, and what's awesome is every single seed that I planted sprouted. So what I'm gonna do, you can't leave them all together like this. They're gonna choke each other out. I'm gonna do a little experiment. I have 2 different 5-gallon buckets that I'm gonna put cucumbers in. I can put 2 cucumbers in each bucket. So the 2 different ways to thin plants, and I'm gonna make a separate video for this, are to go in and just snip them. Or you can actually go in and divide the plants and try and save each of those plants and put them in separate cups. So one of these cups I'm gonna take and snip 2, and the other cup I'm gonna take and divide them all out, so I'll actually keep all 4. And just as an experiment, just to see what is gonna do the best. Next up are some tomatoes. The EG is Early Girl, and those are gonna be slicing tomatoes. I got these seeds a little bit later than the other ones, so they're not as big, but they grow really fast. The early, you know, if it has the name Early in it, it's gonna be a very quick growing, quick to maturity plant. So I'm excited for those. And then the taller ones in the back here are my San Vicente cherry tomatoes. Both of these kinds of tomatoes are indeterminate, which means they will keep growing. Typically bush varieties is what you would want to have in containers, just because they're not going to grow forever and keep getting tall. However, I went with indeterminate varieties this year because you can pinch off their growing tip and they'll just, you know, stop sending out new stuff upwards and then just fill out what they have, which is fine. The other thing too is bush varieties tend to set and ripen all of their fruit kind of at the same time or in a very small window, whereas indeterminate will keep producing new flowers and new fruits until it gets hit by a frost. So theoretically, by getting these Early Girl indeterminates, I should be able to start harvesting sooner and harvest longer this summer. Alright, so this is a lovely window I have in my living room that is south facing. It's got some of the best natural light in the entire house, so just kind of like I said, a lot of this is gonna be an experiment. So we've got the grow light up front. Here we're working with just natural light. So these are tomatoes that I've already actually grown under the grow light up front. These were actually all in the same cups, just like the cucumbers are right now, but I've split them out. I actually gave my mom and John's mom each a set of tomato plants and then some other flower plants that I had. So again, as part of the experiment, I've got the ones up front under the grow light, and then I've got these ones here in front of just sunlight in the window. So we're gonna kind of see what is best, what's gonna work out the best. Just why not? With pandemic, we're having some fun. These plants here are called nasturtium. They're a really gorgeous flower, really fun leaves here, and it's edible, which is really nice. It has like a peppery flavor to it. I've been told like they're really good at like just plucking flowers off, putting them in salads and stuff, and they tend to spill over, and as long as you pluck off the dead flowers once they're dead, they'll just keep producing new ones. So down here in the sill, let's see, this is another kind of zinnia that hasn't sprouted yet because it was planted later, another mixed color. The MG, those are marigolds, and it looks like I planted all 4 of those cups in front at the same time, but only 1 sprout came up, so I don't know if maybe those guys like to be sown outside, because that is the case with some seeds. They don't like to be started in cups inside. So I'm gonna try again outside once it's past Memorial Day and we're past any frost, just to see what happens. Next up, 2 cups of basil. We got a lot of sprouts going on in there, but for now it's okay. I am gonna have to split them up if I want the best possible plants, but and you'll notice in there too, what's really fun with seeds is they get their first set of leaves, which is the bigger ones on the outside, and then they'll start to sprout what they call true leaves on the inside. Those outer ones obviously don't look like basil leaves, but those inner ones are, and I'm super excited. So next up we got some chives, which if you didn't know, chives is just a kind of grass. This is actually garlic chives too, so have a nice garlicky flavor. Got some parsley, and then borage. Those are both a gorgeous kind of like a blue-purple flower that pollinators really love. Also edible, so that's gonna be super fun. Excuse. Oh yeah. So you guys get to meet the girls. This is Shyla, my perfect bear. And this is Lola, and she's the crazy one. Yes, you're so crazy. Can you sit? Can you sit? Can I have shakes? Can you shake? Yes, good girls. Alright, so we've also got in here, this is like, shh, Shyla, keep barking. So this under here is kind of a little experimental thing I've set up before too. I just took a bunch of tin foil. So lined the whole inside of that to try and capture as much sun as possible. I don't think anything is sprouted yet. But yeah, I've got one of these old greenhouse setups, and then I've just got all these like cups from work, so. But yeah, this is all flowers right now too, and they've all just been planted in the past like 3 days, so a lot of times you're gonna have to wait at least a week, sometimes 2, depending on the seed. And that kind of germination info is on the seed packet, so it'll give you an idea of how long you might have to wait. I tried sprouting some seeds in this actually before this round, but the seeds I had were from 2017. Wasn't 100% sure they were gonna be good. Seeds can last that long. They can actually last even longer, but it depends on how you store them, and I did not store them properly at all. So, didn't do well. So I did a new round with new seeds from this year. Gonna have a bunch of flowers. It's gonna be great. Now it's time to go outside. Gotta hook up Lola because she's a runner. See these long chicken legs? Look at these long chicken legs. Yeah, she eats it. But she will take off. Shyla's a pretty good girl though. Some of you know she's like my little shadow, and the problem isn't her running off, it's her being underfoot basically all the time. Alright, so first we'll walk up front and kind of start at the beginning of where the flower beds are. It's a mess because I don't really know what I'm doing. So here's where we're gonna start. So here's the front bed, and it kind of wraps around back up to over by the porch there. And I put this all in last year. None of this existed. This red brick, I actually found some of it buried in the ground, kind of closer up towards there. It didn't run all this way. And then an empty lot down the street from us had a ton of matching ones, including some that were the curved kind. and it had them sitting in the driveway for 6 months. There wasn't a house there, nobody lived there, so I just pulled up my car and took them last year. And then I just randomly planted stuff last year. I think I spilled like thousands of wildflower seeds, and it was pretty for a second, and then it was just a mess. Some stuff like these bulbs here, those were daffodils, which have since died. It's a little past their time, so the flowers are dead and they're gonna die back. Once they do, I'm gonna dig up those bulbs. Those were actually here from before we moved in, so not ours. There's plenty of weeds in here coming up, but I'm leaving them for now because I actually don't know what's just gonna come up from last year. There was some bulbs that I put down. There was also some just wildflower stuff that might have reseeded. So I wanted to see what comes back on its own before I just start ripping out higgledy-piggledy. This is also a spot where I laid some seeds called Sweet William. They're a perennial, which means they'll come back year after year if I do this right. So we will see. And then this really ugly, nasty looking stump. So basically we have a few really terribly placed trees that I know for a fact need to come down. The trailer park had someone come around from a tree service, and they took inventory of what trees needed to go. So I know this one needed to. It's a walnut and it's extremely close to the house. They grow very fast. It's going to, you know, push up on the skirting with its roots and disturb all that. But the park hasn't done anything. They kind of suck at doing anything. So we actually cut it down and we used it for something else in the garden in the back that you guys are gonna see. This is a plant that I put there intentionally, and I don't know what it is. I don't remember. I don't actually think I ever knew. I just think it was in the clearance bin at a Lowe's last year for like $2, and it looked really sad, so I brought it home and I put it in the ground. I think these are plants that I wanted to come back. I don't remember. So we're gonna see what happens. Stepping stones here. This is a new addition this year and I'm really proud of it. This is a hose splitter, and we've got a hose for the front and a nice flexible, very lightweight hose that I've ran to the back where my garden is. That was one of my major improvements that I'm super proud of, because unwinding this whole hose to run it down and around and all the way back where the garden is was just a mess. Let's see what else we've got going on. Oh, there is some new bulbs. You guys see right there, the tip of my finger, there's like a red jutting up. That's another bulb. I think I put that one there intentionally too. So over here in the corner, got some fun snapdragons that might come up. Not 100%, but we shall see. This rose bush and this tulip, which just dropped its petals, those were here before we moved in, so someone planted them, but I might move the bulb. I'm not sure what to do with this rose bush. I've never really been into taking care of roses. You know you're screaming about nothing, right? So that's just a thing she does. She likes to just stand around and whine about literally nothing. She's fine. You just might hear her. She is perfectly fine. Got some curlicue grasses on either side, and they looked a lot better last year. I don't really know what's going on, but this I'm really excited for. I've got one here and one down closer towards the end. These are bleeding hearts. I planted these roots and I'm super glad they took hold. This is the second year they're coming back, so they should be a bit more prolific. Here's the other one. And I've got it right next to this lavender bush that I planted, which I know this is going to be too crazy close. Yeah, these wood chip flower beds are something that like I'm still going to be working on for a while. Let's see, we've got a few different holes where I put some calendulas. Those are another very beneficial flower for attracting pollinators, but also calendulas are great. They have a lot of like beneficial properties for skin. Alright. Oh, you wanna lay down? He's a good bear. She'd really just like laying in the dirt. Just a dirt dog. So got my little hose set up. And then this here is my pallet planter to start. So John and I took and got this pallet, and then you can see we took a few boards and ran them underneath the 3 shelves to kind of hold them in, and then we took black like plastic sheeting basically and ran it on the inside, so that way when I water the dirt doesn't wash out. And then in this top row here I've got mint. I'm keeping that very far away from the ground because mint will spread, and once it's in the ground you can't get it out. Good luck. One teeny tiny bit of root will sprout a whole new plant. So keep your mint out of the ground unless you really want it there. This one is cilantro, which I direct sowed the seeds, which means I put them in this dirt right here. They're not inside. Chives, I also started some out here once I saw that the cup's not filling out the way that I wanted it to. And then down here is where the basil and the parsley are gonna go that I've started inside. Those don't like cold weather at all, really. So I'm gonna wait until after it's pretty much only getting down to the like high 50s, low 60s at night before I bring them out. And then over here, this strawberry planter, this strawberry is from last year. I left it in this pot. It's actually coming back on its own. I didn't think that you can put things in containers and actually have them come back the next year because I thought their root system got too cold. We had a very mild winter though here in Michigan, so that might have had something to do with it. And it's a brand new little strawberry. Strawberry flowers, look at that guy. I got some new ones. I don't know if I should leave those strawberries on right now, or the flowers on right now or not, but we'll see. And then this guy, I had other strawberry plants in a different planter last year, and they did what they do by sending out runners. It's kind of how the plant spreads itself. It sends out new little bunches with new little leaves to start a new plant. So I snipped off the runners and I just put them in the ground here, put some mulch, filled it out, and it came back on its own. I haven't done anything. And this is just, I mean, look at all of these flowers. And we've had a great amount of rain. I'm really hoping that these flowers get pollinated and actually turn into strawberries. I'm very much of the mindset of just leaving it alone right now and kind of seeing, because this year is super experiment year. So that's my strawberries. The garden. And I've got some stuff over there. So we'll walk all the way back on there and start you guys out over here. See, Shiloh's my little shadow. Aren't you, Shiloh? Yes. So these spring onions here, these guys that are the taller, kind of more mature ones, those came back on their own too. Put them in the ground, and I know with spring onions you're actually supposed to pull the whole plant, root and all, because that's how you buy it at the store, right? I don't actually do it like that though. I cut it all the way down to the white and just leave it. Why are you screaming? I'm trying to talk. Could you not? You trying to be like the birds? Actually, let me back up and say all of these were sprouted by ones that I bought at the store. So you buy them, you cut them down to the white, you take them and just pop them in like a little mason jar or a little bowl that has a little bit of water in it. And after, you know, I don't know, about a week, if you just swap out the water every couple of days so it doesn't get all gross, it'll start to grow roots. Just keep giving it fresh water and swapping it out. And then eventually you can kind of transition them to outside and then put them in some dirt. And that's where all of these spring onions came from, is the grocery store. So thanks, 3 for $1 bunches at Kroger. These planter boxes here are made out of pallets, 1, 2, 3. And John and I just did them this year because pandemic boredom, what are you gonna do? So this first box is stuff that I sprouted inside and then transitioned and transplanted out. So this here is my red mist leaf lettuce. It's absolutely delicious, got a very nice hearty flavor. And so actually these aren't head lettuces because it's a leaf. And we're doing a super experiments again, so actually here's several different plants kind of all together. How I sewed these in the cups, like imagine I had that one styrofoam cup, it was just covered with sprouts, and this was me separating them out. So there's still like a little bunch and a little bunch and a little bunch and a little bunch, but I'm gonna do what they call cut and come again. I'm just gonna harvest some leaves kind of as I go, let more continue to grow. If you cut all of the leaves off in one go, then you will prevent the plant from being able to photosynthesize, so it'll die. But I'll just kind of pick and grow, and the smaller they are too, kind of the more flavorful they are with this particular variety. There's some that you want to let get nice and large, but this isn't one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 little plugs of that here. And then over here is spinach that was sprouted inside. This just got transplanted out here a few days ago, and a little bit of it is struggling. This guy I actually thought died because all of its outer leaves, like the whole entire thing looked awful last night, and the fact that these are standing up now gives me hope. But spinach is an interesting one to kind of show that seed leaf to true leaf transition. These long grassy blades on the outside, those were the first leaves that it sent out. Those are the seed leaves of spinach. And then once it gets up and the plant starts taking in water in its roots and sunlight through those leaves, it'll produce actual leaves. So these are going to be spinach leaves that I actually eat, and it's going to be delicious. So yeah, this is a whole bit of spinach here. We got a nice mulch bed going down to help keep the weeds down. So this bed here is leaf lettuce and spinach, just like the other one, but all of this was directly sown in this. I didn't start any of it inside. So you can kind of see the first couple rows of the lettuce there, and then I've got the spinach here. The thing that I had to do out here is go through and do some thinning. I don't actually know if I thinned enough. We're gonna kind of see, like, these are still pretty close together, but they just look so healthy, so I just wanted to see. It's experiment time. But yeah, you can see on the red mist lettuce, like all of these super hyper green, those are the seed leaves, and then once we start getting these purpley ones, those are the actual true leaves that are gonna be in my salads. Got some nice spinach that I've thinned out too. And thinning out here did involve just pulling them right out. These have such shallow root systems when they're this young. I have a plastic pair of tweezers that I use to just select and pull. I saved all of those and I ate them because they're sprouts and they're delicious. So that was the first harvest of my garden this year, with some little seedlings. Oh yeah, and this was like my solution to getting it going. It's, you know, the pandemic gardening edition, work with what you got. So I had this random block of wood. I took a garbage bag and kind of cut it down the middle so it got nice and long, and I stretched it and stapled it over the top of this. You can still see like a little bit of plastic. That was to help, number one, warm up the soil even more, because nice warm soil will get those seeds germinated, but also keep the birds off of these while they were still extremely tiny. So yeah, I just had that covered up, and I'm leaving it here because if Michigan weather, which we know loves to do crazy things, if it decides to drop down to do a hard frost where it drops below 25 degrees at night, these will survive a light frost, but I don't know if they'll survive a hard frost when they're this immature. So just by setting this over the top of it, that's going to be enough to prevent it from dying, basically. And that's why this wood block is here. It just kept the plastic actually up off of everything. So this and these two, this plant is called Creeping Jenny. It's a really great ground cover, or if you have it spilling out of containers or hanging baskets. All of this came back from stuff that I had in pots last year that I wasn't expecting to come back. So it being in these pots right now is just me saving it. It's going to be with some of the flowers that I'm sprouting inside. Like, I'm going to put it around the outside of a container with nice flowers coming up out the center. It's going to look gorgeous, but for now, that's where it's just kind of living. This was just me kind of planning out where some pots were going to go for some flowers and stuff. This box, this is actually the one I most recently made. I made this just because I really, really wanted to be able to put some root veggies in right now while it's still cold. I say it's cold, but it's actually like 70 degrees out right now. I'm super excited because this morning is the first time I've seen things sprouting up here. So I've got some kale. You see that little baby guy? He's a little baby kale. Is there any other kales? Oh my gosh, yes, right in front of my face. Look at these, they're kale. So we're gonna watch these grow for about a week. We're supposed to get a ton of rain, so hopefully they'll grow a little faster. And then we'll be able to thin them out, and I can show you guys that thinning process. And then I've got 2 strips of carrots and 2 strips of radishes right here. The carrots are known to take a really long time. It's actually funny how difficult carrots are to grow compared to just how popular of a vegetable they are. They're very difficult. These could take up to 2 weeks or more just to germinate and sprout. So just keep in mind, everything in this bed was all planted at the exact same time as we go through and kind of watch how things are growing. These here are my row of radishes, and radishes grow exceedingly fast. After I planted this is actually when I learned that you can plant your carrots and then plant radishes in the same rows as your carrots. And the reason being is because the radishes grow so fast that you're going to pull those out and harvest them well before the carrots are ready, so you can actually use that same space doubly, get more for your money, more for your space. I didn't do that. We'll just kind of see how it goes. Oh yeah, I've got a rain gauge over here I forgot to check. Oh, neat. Alright, so in the last 24 hours we've had an inch of rain. That's really good to know. Cool. I got that at Tractor Supply like so long ago, and I've never used it, and now I finally have a reason to. This is my first 5-gallon bucket planter that's been started of the year. This is the main way that I'm going to be growing all of my vegetables, and my peas have sprouted. There's 4 pea plants. I'm really excited. So what is this contraption? I'm going to do a whole video showing you how I made this, but the long and short of it is this is a self-watering plot. I've got 2 5-gallon buckets. In the top one, there's a PVC pipe running all the way through down to the bottom. That's actually what I would put the hose up to get water into the bottom reservoir. I've got a container inside the bottom of this top bucket that has a whole bunch of dirt and goes down through to the bottom, and it acts as a wick. So this will help me make sure that the water stays at the same level, the plant's getting the same amount to drink, and it can just, you know, act nice and freely. So I'm really stupid excited about these peas. It's one of the best crops to grow when it's nice and cool outside. It's already had a light frost for a few nights within the past week, and these guys are doing just fine, so I'm really excited. And then this guy, this trellis here, so that tree we cut down in front, there's actually one right over by the planter back there too. Right there. We cut them down and split them up, and John helped me make this makeshift lines. So we're gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 5-gallon buckets kind of on either side, and it's gonna be the 2 early girl tomatoes, my 2 buckets with cucumbers, and then the 2 cherry tomatoes on the other side. Now this is not gonna be as tall as I'm gonna need for indeterminate plants, so I've got some other stuff to be able to make it taller, but this is gonna be great to get us started. And, you know, work with what you got. As far as the actual platform itself goes, those are just pallets that last year I laid down, got some particle board cut last year. It was just 2 sheets of particle board and the little bit extra I put in there. This year is when we covered it with the black plastic. The 2 things with that being that it'll keep the weeds down, and also I was having critters kind of run underneath. We had a whole thing with a mama cat and litter of kittens under our house last year, and when the kittens got old enough to start kind of exploring, they would all just come out and like be all around my garden, and it's super cute, except for our dogs are not great with cats. Also, I'm super allergic. These 2 wooden boxes, these are both currently going to be rainbow Swiss chard. I have the seeds in. I don't know if I planted them at the right time. Maybe I should have waited until it's warmer out. I don't know, but we're gonna see. Got some more creeping Jenny. I'm so blown away by how much of that came back, and I'm grateful too, because that's another plant I don't have to buy this year that I can use. And then this is my lilac bush that I'm so proud of. It's coming back. Look at all the little purple tips. Those are all going to be flowers. And this is another bit of the tree that we chopped down. John took it to his parents' house, and his dad's got all of the equipment to do woodworking, which is awesome. Yeah, he just kind of cut it into sections, split it down the middle. I used it to make some trim, and I think it looks great considering it was basically no money spent. So yeah, so that's been really nice. Back here on our property, someone must have loved this place at some point and planted a bunch of stuff, because like we got an apple tree, there's a mulberry tree, there's also that tree right there, that's a mulberry tree. And I'm super unhappy with the placement of it, because it's going to just drop berries all over the deck and everything. But this year I'm going to try and harvest it, so I might try and do some kind of crazy string up a tarp over everything and try and catch the berries, but I don't know. We're gonna see when we get there. I'm currently just like throwing up some ideas. And then back here, I've learned through things that I've watched and just from starting to do this now, if you're gonna do any kind of homesteading, DIY, being frugal or whatever, you're gonna end up with a junk pile. And you can try and keep it nice and organized, but this is what it is. So I should explain though, the screen door is something that's been here since before we moved in, and I'm now glad that it is. I might harvest the windows off of it and use it to make a window box, which is something you can do to extend your growing season. I can maybe even grow lettuce and stuff when there's snow on the ground, so we will see. And then those buckets of paint were in the shed, and we've been meaning to throw them out, but everything else is mine. It just needed a home where I wasn't gonna look at it. All right, so that's my garden as it stands right now. Kind of see the progress, where we're at, what we've got going. I've also got a ton of houseplants, but that'll be a whole separate video. I've got a couple things in the house too that are going to be moving outside. For example, I have a pineapple plant that I sprouted from a pineapple that I got at the store. Cut the top off. It's been going for 1.5 years now. This will be its 2nd summer going out. Eventually, I'm hoping it'll make a pineapple. But yeah, for now, that's where we are, and I'm really grateful that you guys went along with me. So stick around, see what's growing.